it's been a very jam-packed couple of days. I think we can all agree, people have been watching, and I keep coming back across these days to the words from yesterday morning. We need to start with dialogue and with the why. And we hope that you've been inspired and been energized and felt a bit more connected in these disconnecting times, and perhaps even felt some reassurance about the path you and your organization is on, and the ability to engage with yourself about your why and your vision, and have some great stepping stones for your next steps that you want to take. So, closing as we began, I would like to now invite Richard Benge back on screen to say some final remarks.
Kia ora koutou. Kia ora koutou. James, thank you very much. You've really got us. You've really completely understood the creative spaces sector, and I think everyone would agree with me that you are now Arts Access and a Creative Spaces major ally, and you can come back anytime. People love you. I've been asked, before I do a wrap up with my impressions of the last 2 days, is to ask you for 3 words that you would describe your experience during the Creative Spaces conference. Could you put that in the chat? 3 words, boom, 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 knock them off, that come off the top of your head, that describe your experience during the Creative Spaces conference. Tēnā koe, Richard Benge ho. Yesterday I failed to describe or tell you about the painting, the image that's behind me. It's a Heitiki painting that is painted by an artist who at the time was in Northland Prison. As you might know, Arts Access Aotearoa also advocates for people in the justice system, in prisons and corrections facilities, to be engaged in the arts. And this painting's been with us for a long time. Sometimes goes out on loan. It's in exhibitions. It tells a story about creativity and the power of artistic engagement to rehabilitate, to have people think about their journey and use the arts to empower and renew their whole selves. Well, gosh, here we are at the very close to the end of our 2-day conference. The last 2 days have been packed full of deep and important insights on topics essential to the professional development of staff from the creative spaces sector, and along with our allies and associates. The first ally that we heard from seemingly hours ago was Minister Sepuloni, and I want to thank you again, Minister, for listening to the call from Creative Spaces and establishing the funding through the Ministry of Culture and Heritage that provided this resource, this conference, and the Standard of Hui to support everyone. It's been 2 days of nurturing, informative conversations. James was reflecting on the workshops and demonstrations that highlighted the strong challenges and wake-ups about the possibilities that can be ignited. We started with the context that Justice Joe Williams provided, that all-encompassing picture where we are in the history of Aotearoa, in our place in the Pacific, our place in time in history. The issues of unlearning the past narratives and the damage of remoulding our understandings as a nation, and in all of that journey, how the arts matter. And most importantly, he reminded us of how you as artists matter, and how all our artists matter. He told us not just how important the arts are for being oftentimes the unappreciated harbingers of change, challenging the status quo, and then stepping into the future before the rest of society does. Over the last 2 days, we've got to stop and dance. So thank you, We Dance and Job Dance team. You heard us breathing and stretching and letting go. How are your hips doing now, James? I need to mention another little bit of housekeeping, that we'll be sending a survey out tomorrow to all the conference attendees. And we really ask you to fill it out. You just get a little bit more time to fill this out. Your feedback will be used to inform the professional development program that you're going to be engaging with going forward. And we'll be using it to advocate for future funding for similar, let's have free conferences. Just remembering again that Justice Joe, when he talked about Hinewehi Mohi, as she was known then, who sang the New Zealand national anthem at Twickenham in 1993 in Te Reo Māori. You recall he said that? It was her as a Māori artist that decided that that would be the day the world would change. What Justice Joe didn't know was that Hinewehi went on to found Raukatori Music Therapy Centre, a creative space that has music therapy service in Auckland, Northland, the Bay of Plenty and Hawke's Bay. They also won the Arts Access Creative Space Award one year, and Dame Hinewehi, as she's now known, led the singing of the national anthem that night also. So what a cool story that he talked about that associates Hinewehi Mohi, Raukatori with us. I'm grateful that we got to run this conference in a digital format, especially because COVID is still an issue in our communities and there are disabled people who are at risk. It's still very challenging. We've learned so much about bringing forward this hui in a way that people can engage in without going anywhere where they'd be at risk. So thank you again to the great team at Auaha for your professional guidance and your kindness. That I'm laughing because you were very kind to me, that pulled us together, and well done to all of you in our group, in our conference delegates, for all of you for engaging in the app, doing the polls, reaching out and engaging in the chat. You know, I've often thought about associations, that people that come together for collective impact. They're everywhere. August organisations like the New Zealand Association of General Surgeons, but there's also the New Zealand Society of Authors. Then there's ANZSCA, Aotearoa New Zealand Circus Association. Why do people gather in professional associations? We know the answers. Here's four. For professional development, constant quality of service improvement, and for expressing their voice and demonstrating their value. So we need to be more like this. So here's our next offering for Creative Spaces Network. Building from the energy that everyone has brought through to this conference, I invite us to keep working together to build the strength and power of your association. Arts Access Aotearoa will extend the conference energy and resources into a platform called Ngā Wāhi Whakaonga Auaha, the Creative Spaces Network platform. This name is gifted to us from Kaumātua Bill Koa. It's in this platform that it'll be accessible via the Arts Access website. All the resources and sessions from this conference will be kept here. And as your professional development program rolls out over the next 2 years, this dedicated site will fill up with more news, resources, and go-to information to support the mahi. So it's there that your association will grow and be contained so it can go forward. It's a dedicated place for the network to grow from. I talked about advocacy in my opening talk yesterday, and we're all invited to strengthen how we advocate for the value of arts, culture, and creativity wherever we are and whoever we are. The recently released Creative New Zealand Guide to Advocacy, called Changing the Story on Arts, Culture and Creativity in Aotearoa, is in the conference app and downloadable from the Creative New Zealand website. It's full of good ideas for telling your story from a position of knowledge and strength that points to the value of the arts, that strengthens our communities, builds the well-being of people who participate. If you don't have a website to promote yourselves, no worries. We can set you up with a flight deck website that's for free, and it has the added benefit of being connected to others in the network. So just be in touch with us if you need a website. During the conference, we've learned from examples of leadership and inclusion of artists from creative spaces, the professional development of artists, their remuneration. I'll say that again, the remuneration, I often get that word wrong, and leadership pathways for artists in a growing area of practice and knowledge. It's an awesome example we saw from Jolt and the Hobson Street Theatre Company of career development and remuneration for teachers, actors, dancers who've come up through the ranks. This makes me think of the talk by Angel Newman from AS220 in Rhode Island. She talked about how we shouldn't underestimate the influence of a creative organisation that can provide for rangatahi, who we never know who's watching and what they're learning and who and how they will take the work forward into leadership positions. Repeatedly, we heard about co-created programming and peer-led and shared leadership, bringing forwards the opportunities and voices of the artists and respecting and honouring the lived experience of others we serve to the forefront of decision-making. The discussion about ableism, awareness and disability, pride and empowerment through the arts with Erin Goff and Carolyn Bowditch is a great trans-Tasman challenge for all staff to look at their organisations and systems and see where can we be doing better in our disabling society and provide equitable experience for people who are disabled to provide disability-led opportunities. And this includes people with mental ill health and others who are unheard of or underrepresented like rangatahi. Conversations were held about creative spaces working in partnership with Māori, honouring Te Tiriti o Waitangi in authentic ways. We heard that the deeper our understanding of Te Tiriti is, the better this informs our actions, and from that we have trustees at committee levels, and beyond that it's best to surround ourselves with better informed people who can share with us and lead us into the relearning environment of what our organisations and life in Aotearoa can be like in the future. And James talked about it, and I'll reiterate that we heard of the importance of starting out to ask the why do you embark on this journey, so that you can support kaupapa Māori and get fairer outcomes. I liked the term changing the colour of the background. And Arts Access Aotearoa as an organisation is mirroring this journey of learning as well. Thank you for this afternoon's peer-led sessions. They were so practical, and we were right with you in how to do your workshops, how you've done it online and in person. Great ideas and practical settings. Thank you. Soon I'll say goodbye and I'll pass you back to the care of our kaumātua Bill Koa. So thank you again and for your support of our Mahi Bill. Thank you again to all of you who helped guide and be in the conference program, and to James and Sandra and Amy and Dan behind the scenes for bringing this digital and accessible program to life with efficiency and great kindness. Thank you again to the Arts Access team, specifically Ruth, for the coordination of so many moving parts, and to all our speakers and panelists. Last and most important, my aroha and gratitude to you, the staff and artists of all creative spaces, wherever you are. You make up this growing and strengthening network. I overheard someone say today, creative spaces have sure come to the party on this, in reference to the way you've all joined in and supported this conference. And you have. So let's keep the energy and aroha going. Arts Access is all in and looking forward to staying alongside you to do what Dame Hinewehi Mohi did back in 1993. Use the power of the arts to change the world. Noho mai rā I rotu ana manaakitanga katoa.
Ko te mea ko tāhui nei mātari te whakamutinga o tēnei kōrero kia koutou. Nō reira, me ki, kia hora tamarino, kia whakapapa pānamu te moana. e urahi mā tātou I te rangi nei. Aroha atu, aroha mai. Tātou I a tātou katoa, hui e tāiki e. Kia ora tātou.